Hi, my name is Shreza. I am an online nutrition coach and the founder of Renewed Health and Fitness and Christ-Centered Body Image. Today, I want to chat with you about what it takes to make a lasting change in your eating habits and your nutrition. Now, what it takes is learning the skills necessary to make better eating choices and eat better consistently. I don't think there is enough information and education and coaching out there that actually teaches you the skills, the practices, and then the daily behaviors and actions that you need to develop healthy, lasting, sustainable, maintainable habits to eat better consistently, to lead a healthier life for the rest of your life. What a lot of diets do, or a lot of plans do, if you are given a plan, you follow that plan, but only while you're following that plan. It doesn't teach you the skills of how to make a better choice when you go out to eat, make a better choice when you go to a family event at a holiday, to make a better choice when you're on vacation, things like that. And so these are skills that you can learn eating better consistently, having a healthy relationship with food, having healthy, balanced, sustainable, maintainable long-term eating habits is a skill that you can develop, just like with learning how to play a new sport or learning how to play a new instrument. Both of those, a sport or an instrument, is going to be broken down into segmented, simple skills or simple things that you can practice and get better at them. And once you have mastered those specific practices and skills, maybe you'll add some complexity to those skills so that over time you get better at them and you're doing more complex things. And then over time, as you've learned a bunch of different skills and how to do these specific, whether it's movements or things in a sport or specific things to play an instrument, you are able to then play that sport and then play that instrument. And the same is honestly said for our eating habits and our nutrition and even our relationship and how we relate to food. We can break these specific skills down into things that we can practice daily, that are daily actionable behaviors and habits. And then over time, as we master those, they become just part of what we do. And then over time, we're able to just eat better consistently, naturally. But there isn't a lot of information and education and coaching out there to be able to help people do that. Oftentimes what's given to people is just a plan, and they're told, follow this, stick to this, eat exactly this time, eat only these things. It doesn't teach you these skills where in reality, you're probably gonna be going to barbecues, Christmas events, birthday parties, going out to restaurants, going to the movies, or other scenarios where you might need some tools, some methods, some practices, and some skills to be able to make better choices, healthier choices in those scenarios. So that's what we're going to chat about today. So for example, we could think about the goal of, let's say, losing 20 pounds. But we need to break losing 20 pounds down into manageable chunks, as well as we could break that into different skills and practices and habits and daily action. So for example, let's think about losing 20 pounds. Losing 20 pounds is going to require changing your eating habits, or maybe it's going to be eating better consistently. And so the skill that's going to be required to lose weight, eat better consistently to lose 20 pounds might be that overall thing we're looking to do. So the skill that you're going to need to develop is to learn how to eat better consistently, but then there's different practices as well as actions that you can perform daily to be able to work on that skill of eating better consistently. Eating better consistently, it can involve a variety of different things. And I'm actually going to share my screen with you to be able to give you some visuals on that. For example, a practice of eating better consistently is going to be making time, honestly, making time to eat better consistently. And then some of the daily actions that you can take to make time to help you to eat better consistently could be to have some meals planned ahead of time that you know that you're going to eat, and have them prepared ahead of time. Also, there could be some other skills for under the umbrella of, or some practices under the umbrella of eating better consistently. One of them could be having regular meal times, and then with that, eating 3 regular meals during or throughout the day. So all that to be said is there's under the umbrella of the overarching goal of eating better, making having better eating habits, there are skills, practices, and habits, or I guess skills, practices, and daily actions that you can work on. So let me give you a couple of definitions. I'm going to read them from my book. So for example, a goal. That is where you want to go. That is your target. So if I have a client come to me and their goal more or less is they want to have better eating habits, then there's going to, that kind of will be their goal. And oftentimes people are going to come to me because with having better eating habits, they might have a goal of feeling better. They might have a goal of wanting to lose weight or a specific number of pounds or get to a specific weight. They might have goals of they want to feel better in their bodies and have more energy and more maybe endurance for their day. Maybe their target and their goal is to have a healthy relationship with food. And with that comes being mentally and emotionally healthy. So those are some targets or goals that people might have when it comes to their health, to their nutrition, maybe even their fitness. And then you have the skill. So a skill definition is the ability or capacity that you need to achieve that goal. So in order for someone to, let's say, have healthier eating habits, what are some of the skills, the abilities, the capacities that somebody might need to be able to get to that goal, to get to that target? And so from there, you have a practice. So a practice is something you need to do to build that skill. So you think about practice. People go to basketball practice. People go to baseball practice. If someone's learning how to play an instrument, they are going to be practice playing that instrument. So those are the things that you need to, things that you need to do to be able to get better at that skill. And then you have your daily actions. So those are small, specific tasks you need to do consistently and repeated over time. These small, specific tasks and behaviors become habits. So that is kind of the breakdown of goal to skill to practice to daily actions. And that is what we are going to do to, over time, eat better consistently, is work on some skills, practice some things daily. So I'm going to share my screen and for just some visuals to help you with this. Let me pull these up really quick. Okay, here we go. So this is an infographic from Precision Nutrition. That is where I got my nutrition coaching certification through. And this is an example of a visual of breaking your goal down into specific skills and then breaking those skills down into daily practices. So for example, as I had mentioned, the goal to eat better consistently so you could lose weight if that's something you're wanting to work on. And then from there, what is a skill that somebody might need to work on and develop in order to eat better consistently? And that could be the skill of hunger and appetite awareness. A lot of us might be disconnected and don't have the ability to know about our hunger or our appetites or even our fullness. And then breaking that skill down into practices, it could be a daily practice of eating slowly. We all might tend to eat really fast and not practice eating slowly. So that could be an example practice that you could practice daily action for 2 weeks to develop that into a habit. Another thing that you could do, like over here, is practice eating until satisfied, not stuffed. So that's the 80% rule, if you will, of eating until you are 80% full. These are just a couple examples of some skills into some practices into some daily actions. Now, I'm going to stop sharing this part of the screen. So for example, with these daily practices and these daily actions, these are just a couple examples. Some other practices might be, honestly, like awareness of how much somebody is eating. And so it could be a daily action, might be portion control. It might be portion control in the form of taking pictures of your food. It might be using your hand as a portion control method. It might be a plate method. Maybe somebody just doesn't have a very good idea of how much they eat. And even food journaling is really helpful because it can show you and your coach how much you are eating. So that's another daily action that could be something for a practice and a skill that you need to learn to eat better. I'm going to share another thing on here. Perfect. Just so I'm a very visual learner, and so I like to be able to provide resources and visuals to help people. That's not what I want to share. This is share. There we go. So right here, and it is an example of right here over on this side, if you can see my mouse moving, is a skill of eating better, eating well consistently. Some of the practices and daily actions that you might want to start to work on in order to eat better consistently so that you can lose weight or so that you have better, healthier, balanced eating habits over the course of the rest of your life. So if I were to look over here, as I had mentioned, one of the practices could be planning your meals. Making time and planning ahead is a skill and a practice that is needed for us to eat better consistently for the rest of our lives. And so daily actions that could be having a weekly ritual where you sit down with your family, your loved ones, and decide, like, here, what are some of the meals we want to have for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, some snacks that we want to have. And then also creating a roster of go-to meals. Maybe like, this breakfast is filling, this lunch is really satisfying, this dinner is super easy to cook and enjoyable for the entire family. And then also going and getting groceries together. Those are some of the things some daily actions that you can do that fall under that practice of planning your meals, as well as the skill of eating better consistently. And then similar to what I was just mentioning is prepping your meals. So not only do you want to think ahead of time, like maybe on Saturday or Sunday, think about and plan your meals ahead of time, prepping your meals ahead of time. You don't have to spend 5 to 6 hours prepping your meals ahead of time, but what you can do is think about maybe foods that are both tasty and convenient when it comes to prepping for you. I often have a go-to of making salads for lunch because I buy the pre-made salad ingredients. I can just throw them into a container to take with me. And the most prep time is honestly cooking the proteins and maybe preparing the beans or lentils that I put into my salad, or the carbohydrates that I put into my salad. And so prepping your meals, again, doesn't have to take a long amount of time, but it might mean making a little bit of protein or a little bit of carbohydrates to have ready for the week to batch make them. And maybe it's you batch make some proteins or some carbohydrates for just a couple of days. It doesn't have to be for the entire week. It doesn't have to be this extensive thing. Another thing that you can do to help you for the skill of eating better consistently, practice is modifying your food environment. I think about this as making your environment work for you. And then daily actions that you can take to make your environment work for you is doing a kitchen clean out. Maybe there's foods in your house that you know that you have a hard time, let's say, controlling yourself around. So maybe you don't have them in the house. Or you could also put systems or environment in place. Like, for example, this is something I've practiced in the past where I like Oreos, but to prevent myself from overeating, I would buy the pre-package where there's only like 2 in a pack, just because for me personally, I wouldn't go and open a second package. I would just have my 2 and be good and satisfied. Whereas if I had the entire just open box of Oreos, I'd be more tempted to keep going back. Another way that you can do it is, so that's how to make your food environment work for you. And then other things that you can do for the skill of eating better consistently, a practice is, like I had mentioned, is eating regular meals. That's right down here. So making sure that you have a consistent number of meals that you're eating throughout the day. I have found that our body likes some semblance of consistency and routine. Again, it's not about perfect. Normal eating is not perfect eating, but our bodies and our brains especially need to be have an adequate supply of fuel, of carbohydrates, of glucose. So making sure, let's say, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and trying to do that like Monday through Sunday, like a normal breakfast time, a normal lunch time, a normal dinner time. If our eating schedule is all over the place, really sporadic, sometimes we have tons and tons of time throughout the day where we miss breakfast or lunch. Our bodies and our brains don't like that. Our bodies and our brains do need to be fed. They do need to be supplied with an adequate amount of energy for us to feel and function and perform our best. Another practice that you can do is planning your meal. So you got the eat better consistently, the practice of eating regular meals, and then the daily actions. I had already mentioned the regular meal times, but then also it's also eating the amount of meals that works for you. For example, I do 3 with a snack in there somewhere, but then also building your schedule, your meal schedule around what works for you. If breakfast at 8 a.m. works best for you, great, do that. If breakfast or lunch at 12 or 1 p.m. works best for you, great, do that. Whatever is going to work best for you. It's not about the specific and perfect times eating. It's more about having regular meal schedules. And then another example action of the skill of eating better consistently, the practice, and then the daily action or the practice is recording how you're eating or recording how much you're eating. So that daily action is a food journal. I love food journals, whether it's taking a physical journal and at breakfast writing the time you ate, and then writing like I had a piece of toast with a tablespoon of butter, with a handful of fruit, with a yogurt. Getting as precise as possible at all your meals and literally logging and tracking everything you eat can help you to see truly how much you eat, as well as your eating habits and your patterns. As humans, as coaches as well, we tend to find that people just don't have a good idea of how much they're eating. And so this food journal can actually really open your eyes and see how much you're eating, and also show you where you can make adjustments and changes to be able to have better eating habits, and to also maybe get you to the goal and the target that you're trying to aim at. So that is just a little bit about this concept of what it takes to have lasting change and improve your eating habits, improve your nutrition, improve even, like, let's say the healthiness of your eating habits. Is we really need to learn some skills. There are skills necessary that we are not taught in order to make these and have these lasting changes in our lifestyle. And then from there, the practices, the things that we need to do consistently to be able to have these skills to get where we want to go. And then the daily actions that eventually over time will become habits. So there's a lot more that could be said on what skills are needed to be able to eat better consistently and have better eating habits, to eat healthier, and to also have a healthy, balanced lifestyle when it comes to our food and nutrition choices. And there's a lot more practices and tools and methods that could be talked about, but I just want to give a brief overview of some of these things. And I hope that these visuals were also helpful for you, and it might also be helpful for you to get out of some maybe mindsets that are not helpful, some all or nothing mindsets, or maybe even some myths that are promoted out in the diet and fitness culture. I think of one specifically, is that you shouldn't eat after a certain time. But the reality is, there was a season in my life where eating dinner at 8:30 p.m. was when I had to eat dinner, because I worked until like 8 o'clock. And so that is when I had to eat dinner, and that's what worked for me. And it's not necessarily about the specific time you eat. It's really all about it is a lot about energy balance, but then also there's a lot of things that go into our eating habits that contribute to how much we eat and why we eat. So it's not just, there's a lot of factors that contribute to energy balance, but again, it's more or less about how much we are eating. not these specific rules that we are following as in regards to when we eat, the times we eat, things like that. So I hope that this information on the skills that are needed to eat better consistently was helpful for you. And I also hope that you adopt this mindset is that eating better, improving your eating habits are skills that can be developed that we didn't learn and we weren't taught in school, but it can be done. And so if you need any help with your nutrition and your eating habits, I have open coaching spots available. So feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.